I had to just push a button on YouTube. And so, guys, thank you for all of you to join us today. It's wonderful that you were able to come on board at such a short notice. And obviously, the first question has to be to you. Don't uh, Shipra is right here with me. Shipra runs Live from a Lounge with me, and Shipra has been meaning to ask a question to all of you.
Oh yeah, so yeah, so I was talking to Ajay today, and I was like, one of the things I really want to know is how do you feel from being up in the air all the time to now being grounded? How do you all feel about it?
Also,
like sometimes like a prisoner. I don't understand how 9 to 5 job people feel about it.
No, but how have you been during the lockdown? What have you been keeping busy with, and how's that been going?
I did a lot of workout, which is great. Just a bit of yoga and some workout at home. A lot of cooking, trying to explore, dancing, singing, all these things that one doesn't do on a normal basis in life. I guess all those activities and hobbies are coming up for me at least.
Okay. Has the banana bread happened yet? Have you taken the banana bread challenge?
I actually made one, yeah. I did.
So, and Gautam, how's it going for you?
It was good at the start when we initially started it, but now it kind of feels a little frustrating, the whole thing. But for me, the advantage is my parents are here with me as well in Bangalore, and they just came in before the lockdown, and they're stuck with us now.
Okay.
And with 2 kids, it's quite a full house. I actually don't get much free time with 2 kids and parents here as well. So I am doing the baking and the cleaning and everything, but it does feel frustrating. I'm missing the layovers most. I need my layovers where I can go into the hotel and just sleep all day.
Rucha is laughing there. How's it going for you, Rucha?
So hi everyone, and all right, so I'm not one of those banana bread challenge person. I'm not one of those coffee person at all. I did work out a little bit. I did a little yoga here and there, but mostly it's just about chilling and truly catching up with family. It hasn't till now become frustrating for me, because what I crave most is time with family, and especially time with my husband, my pets, and I haven't got to do that all these years. So this is really nice. It's like a summer vacation from school. आप school जाते हो, and now suddenly you have that typical summer vacation. So you're chilling, eating mangoes, wearing torn clothes and everything. So I'm having a really relaxed time. I think I've revisited my childhood for a while. So it's pretty good.
Nice. I'm just gonna Captain Kohal. I'm trying to find you here. Why don't you tell us?
Oh, it's been hard work. It's so tough being at home. It's been really, really tough at home. Okay. Flying is definitely easier. You always have an excuse why things at home aren't done, but being at home is crazy. It's like the kind of cooking, and suddenly everybody's eating like there's no tomorrow.
Okay.
It's just between 3 men at home, and each one looking at you and not doing a little bit, but not too much, and just eating. I've never seen men eat so much. I mean, boys, kids eating all the time. So it's been it's a lot of work at home. So all those men who think it's easy being at home, housewives, oh man, it's bad. It's worse than flying.
All right.
I actually told my mother this morning, chatting, and I was like, how did you cook for so many years and never
complain, right?
How could you do it, because here I have completely reached my top, and, I told him some days I'm just like, eat fruits and be okay. Or can we look at eating just one meal a day and we'll be fine?
No, but I've not been posting my meals on Instagram anymore. But there's been a lot of cooking going on. I think that's the only thing that's kind of keeping us sane. But for the past few days, we've gone like, I keep saying, hey, why don't we order in now? But I don't think Shipwreck appreciates the convenience of delivery at this point of time. But Gursevak, how's it going for you? Can't.
For me, it's been going really well. So luckily, I've been a part of Delhi government, so we are feeding the poor and the people who really need food. So that way, it's actually keeping me very busy. So that way, it's been going very nice. Every day, I get to move out, help the people come back. But yeah, as Captain Preeti really, very nicely said. So we are three people in the home. We also are three people, and whenever the sister walks into my room, so she's like andata for her. The moment you look at her face, I feel like having coffee lado, chai lado, ye lado, wo lado. But otherwise, yes, I've been trying to catch up bit on my workout, and yeah, I've just started to learn guitar. So just trying to, all this while I've been thinking guitar to bahut aasan hai, it's an easy thing to do, but yeah, it's very difficult. And as far as flying is concerned, now I just started to feel that flying is in my blood. I never felt that, but yeah, recently I started feeling. So whenever you move from one room to another, for me it's like you just like landing an aircraft. You could actually simulate while walking. So pulling the control column back towards you and putting your hands on thrust. You could actually simulate. So that way it's going. New things you're getting to know, but otherwise it's going very nice. And I'm enjoying this lockdown period actually.
Well, I am hoping you get all the time with your family, because once this is going to be back, once you're going to be back in business, you're going to be obviously not seen at home very often, I guess. But this is tell us
Very true.
what has been what has been, where did you guys land up into flying? I know Gautam was an engineer before he decided to work his way
Yeah.
into flying. How did you guys kind of land up into world of aviation?
Actually, before anyone gets to that, I think
Uh,
Captain Puneet Nagi is also with us.
Yes.
Puneet Nagi is also joined in.
Yeah.
Guys.
Hi,
Yes, right
I
here.
was trying to
Captain,
in the background.
good for you. You were supposed to be in a plane today, I guess.
I was, and I'm still on standby, so I hopefully would get pulled out.
The only time we want to get pulled out now.
Yeah, that's true. How tables turn, there are times when you're
Yeah.
exhausted, and the times like this when you're craving to get back to work. It's been almost 55 days for me that I haven't seen an airplane.
Wow.
And yeah, it's quite unnatural for us, I think.
So I haven't flown from 11 December because of some AEP issues. So from 11 December to now, it's a long time.
Wow.
It's
Oh,
a
It's a
wow.
long holiday.
I know, and the weird part was that most of my licenses were expiring, and I just gave them for renewal about 2 days before the lockdown started, and I'm not sure if they are going to be renewed, and I don't know what kind of procedures are going to be after that. But from 11 December to today, it's a long time not flying. And before that, because of the Jerryways thing, again I wasn't flying for almost 6 to 7 months. So yeah, I've got a really long break, like in the past 1 year.
Wow.
Rucha,
That
another
must be
3 months and you would have had a baby.
Absolutely, ma'am. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, guys, tell us, this is a question that's been on my mind for a very long time. Obviously, you're home. And this is a question that gets asked to us a lot. I don't know why. Perhaps you guys are not so public about your, life. But how are you guys keeping up with? I think Rashi texted me before this. She was perhaps keeping up with her studies, and some other people are also, continue. Piloting is also a lot about continuing to be current on your machine. So, how are you guys keeping up with that, and what do you think is going to happen once you're back in the air again? Captain, I think you're the most experienced. Captain Preeti, you're the most experienced around here. So perhaps we should go with this with you first.
We are constantly studying. So actually, this time it has been a break. And now if we have to study, it's because we want to study and not because we have to study. So it's more to do with if I want to read something, I'll read it now. But otherwise, I think all of us over the year, every time we are constantly reading something because we are falling back or we are forgetting or we want to reinforce that certain points. So this break actually has been more about us and not so much about flying, at least for me. And we all, I think most of us would be subscribing to some websites. So we do keep up to date with what's happening. Like ICAO has got out just a new manual a couple of days ago about how to deal with COVID-19 and in the air, and they've got out a whole document. And there's some training issues and some are part of some training groups. And so we keep discussing an international group that how we actually don't need checking now. We need more training. And we have to get away from the culture of checking and just give us some more training, no checks. We shouldn't go back towards, let's see how much you know, but it's helping us get back to what we knew. That's how I look at it.
I see Captain Rucha is nodding her head. So do you have
because as much as I remember, because Captain Preeti was an integral part of our training department in Jerryways, and she used to come up with these fabulous profiles, and like it was rightly like that, it was more about teaching and training rather than a bunch of questions or somebody like intimidating you with a really tough one or something like that. It was more like, okay, you've come up for recurrent training. We used to come up for simulators every 6 months, hopefully. And so every 6 months we would learn something and go back rather than realizing that, oops, I have to study so much. More than that, it would be I would learn something and go back. So she was responsible for many nice profiles. So I do remember. So yeah, that was really nice. So I like this. I like the attitude of when senior trainers and people who are programming the training programs, when they understand it's, of course, checking has to be a bit of checking definitely has to exist, but let's understand that there has to be an exchange of knowledge rather than just like asking us, how much do you know? So yeah.
I agree. Absolutely agree.
Yes.
Well, what our company has done is they've actually given us the e-refresher. So what we've got about 18 to 20 hours of study material, which kind of you're doing it about an half an hour or 1 hour per day. And yeah, that's really keeping it. It kind of it's all stuff that we've done. We've done over a period of last 10 years. We've been doing it every time. But as recurrence go, we're doing it again this year. But we're doing it. Everything is on our iPads, on our laptops, and everything. So yeah, we're doing the regulatory requirement as well as yeah. This is the first time I have so much time, so I'm actually keying in and listening very intently this time, and I'm actually cross-referencing things. Yeah,
Learning
so
stuff.
yeah, it's learning stuff in a different way this time actually. So
anything
this
new
is
you
fun.
found, Captain?
Uh,
We're not trying to.
they-
So tell us. Otherwise,
yeah, like I wish I could tell you. I'm still struggling with it.
okay.
After 10 years, also I'm still struggling with it. It all feels new after such a long break. Yeah.
I'm sure it does.
There's a really nice cool meme which is going around in most of the pilot groups saying this is the map of the aircraft. These are pull this to go up, push that to go down. It's a really nice cool meme. Trust me, I think I'm going to need that one for sure. Stick it on my control column and look at it every time I go flying. But like what they say that, if you really knew before what you were doing, you'll always recollect what you're supposed to do, like when it comes to it. So yeah,
I think a
hopefully.
lot of it will come back to us once we are actually back in the seat.
Yeah.
For me, obviously, once you're back in the aircraft, I'm not a trainer or anything, but once you're back in the aircraft, it I think comes back to us.
Yeah,
And
naturally comes back.
and once you're away for so long, there will come in a bit of doubt, and as Rucha said, the memes will seem true. But I think it's muscle memory will take over once we get back in the cockpit. Yeah.
Yeah, I just flew yesterday after like 29 days, although my family was like, no, why, why do you have to fly? We were repatriating passengers. And obviously everything goes back to now you double checking everything extra, even though you know in your gut that you're doing it right. I checked the load sheet, I think 4 times because it was a new station. They did a manual load sheet there. And I was like, oh, okay, let's do this. So I'm like, I think I can see a 2-ton error in the load sheet. Can you please fix that for me? He's like, no, you can LMC. I'm like, no, I can't LMC a 2-ton error, guys. Come on. I mean, I know this thing. And yeah, obviously, like Captain Gursevak said, we are constantly double checking. Although muscle memory is there, although all those years of experience is there, you're constantly going, oh, am I doing it right? You don't want to mess up. Apart from all this COVID and all the stress aside, you're still at the end of the day responsible for all those. It's like when you are driving an ambulance, you can't run over other people on the road. So similar way, we're still flying, we're still responsible for those lives, even whether they have COVID or not, or whether they are, same way we had to wear PPEs to fly in and out of there. And that is such a massive fire hazard. Of course, that is not a concern when other people on ground are wearing those PPEs, but it's a massive fire hazard for us.
Yes.
And so that's an additional thing we learned. They trained us saying it's a fire hazard. As soon as it happens, go away from it and take it out and then fight the fire, because yeah, you'll probably try to fight the fire first, but you'll also probably get burnt in it before you are able to fight the fire. So learning a lot of new things with this COVID actually, and it's actually great. Yeah, that this, it's a new learning thing that's happening.
Oh, nice.
Nice. So Rashi, I learned that you actually wanted to be a journalist, right? When you were young.
I want, yeah.
Wow.
Yes. So tell us something. Tell us. You wanted to be a journalist. How did you get into aviation? And also, you don't have an Indian CPL, right?
I don't. Actually, I don't. सारे paper pass कर लिए थे, सब कुछ हो गया था, बस RT नहीं pass हुआ. So I don't have an Indian license. I don't fly in India. I wish I could, but I don't. Every now and then my family comes up and says, it's a high time now, you try to go to do the exams again. And, I'm like, okay, let's see. Now with the COVID, I'm considering that I'll probably apply for the license again. I wanted to do journalism. I don't know. I think it was the time where Barkha Dutt had come up really well. And I was a teenager at that time. And I saw her reporting in Kargil and all of that. And it really inspired me. But I said everyone will look up to her and get inspired by her. So I thought I'll do French journalism. So I was learning French actively at that time. And I was like, okay, chalo, let's do journalism. Of course, that changed over a period of time. And that never went through. But and talking about aviation, my mom actually was a pilot when she was in school. She was a hobby pilot. But she never could finish her training given the circumstances back then. There weren't enough funds, and so she never finished training. But she did a few hours, like 40, 50 hours on a small Pushpak aircraft back then. So I guess that's in the blood from there. And yeah, the rest is history. I'm here.
Nice, but I'm keen to hear all you guys. How did you kind of turn up into aviation? I'm gonna go to Captain Preeti first time because she's been around the longest, and I think I'm very curious to hear. At a point of time, I do not think I'll be into the field of talking to you guys or talking to airlines, but and that was accidental for me. But how did you guys land up into flying planes? And you had a pretty long career as a trainer as well, and as the head of training at Jet. So how did you land up into?
I love machines. I love the power that it gave you, that you could control something. And it was just that. Just control a machine, make it do what you wanted to do. And you had to be skilled at it. It was super fun. It was ultimately amounted to just having fun. And it was very practical. Flying is very practical. What you study and you apply. You don't study, like in college, you study bio and chemistry and physics, but you never really apply it. But in flying, whatever you study has some use. Every single thing. So it's very, very interesting. It's a lot of fun. And for me personally, I love this. So whether it was cars or bikes, and just that. That's how it started off. Pushing the car out when parents weren't at home, taking it when you're not supposed to take it, and started off from there.
All right. Interesting. And somebody else wants to share the story?
May I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so mine is purely by choice. So just like Captain Rashi, even my dad was a PPL holder. So he started flying on a push bug in somewhere in Patiala Aviation Club. And later he joined he joined a government job. So because of the circumstances and all, but back then flying was a big thing to do. Even now, but not that big. So that's how. So when I was a kid, so every time he used to tell us how to fly an aircraft, how to take off, land, all those small things like a kid. So that's how it got into my blood, and eventually I just got this opportunity. I'm lucky enough to get into aviation and start flying. That's how I started.
All right.
May I have a go at it?
Yes.
All right. So my thing is quite interesting because I've heard that many have to convince their parents, like, okay, why don't you make me a pilot? Why don't you invest so much money on me? Over here, my dad was behind my life that you have to become a pilot, because maybe when I was a child, I used to keep saying that, okay, yeah, I want to be a pilot. I want to be a pilot. And somewhere along the way, and while growing up, I must have forgotten about it. And post that, I grew up, and the time came when I had to choose and make a decision what to do with my life. So I was hell-bent on becoming a marine engineer for some reason, and my dad was hell-bent on making me do anything but marine engineering. And so he said, okay, so that year, BAC Aviation, it's a Mumbai University course. That course had just been introduced. So one of the day there was an interview going on, when my dad is like, no, we are just going for something, let's go, like, let's just go for the interview. I was not dressed for it, I was not prepared for it, but it was quite nice, it was quite interesting. And I passed the interview for my BAC Aviation thing. And I'm like, oh my god, this course is extremely expensive, I don't want to go for it, and it might be really hard. So it's like, just go for it. Even if you waste the entire money, I won't blame you for it, but at least give it a go. I said, okay, fine. So the very first time I sat in an aircraft was the very first time I ever sat in an aircraft. I had never even touched or seen or even like dur se bhi nahi kabhi dekha tha. So the very first time I was in an aircraft, I knew that this is it. This is what I'm supposed to do. It just felt so natural. It felt that this is the place I'm supposed to be. And like uh, what rightly Captain Preeti said, it was very practical. So whatever I learned, it was quite engaging, and you apply it, so you understand and you fly. So it was very easy. It was no, like, there was no planning about it, or there was no rattabazi or something in that, which I really hated. So it's something which really came natural to me. So, like, and I said, okay, what the hell? And the course finished. Before the course finished, I already had like 6 jobs in my lap. I know it sounds unlikely right now, but that was the boom. That was the aviation boom. It was Indigo was opening, Deccan was there, Kingfisher, Jet Airways. I mean, SpiceJet was coming up, Indian Airlines, Air India. So there was so much and so many. And out of all the 5 call letters I had, I did Inky, Pinky, Ponky, and I chose Jet Airways, because, like, for many many reasons, and absolutely no regrets. And it's been a good ride since then. So yeah, so it was quite good.
Well, nice. Captain Nagi, we're just going to ask you as well because.
Yeah, actually, I just saw a question someone just posted. He's asking if someone with middle class family background, can he afford to pay for pilot training? This comes back to my story. I come from a defense family. My father was from the Navy. And once I finished schooling, I wanted to be a pilot, but honestly, I couldn't afford it because it was so expensive at that point of time. And due to certain family issues, I decided not to pursue it. So the next best thing I could think of was join the merchant navy. make my money, and the day I have exactly the money I need, I'll put it towards flying, and that's exactly what happened. I worked in the Merchant Navy for about 6 years. I left as a second officer. Went to the US. The flying out there was pretty fast. I was done in about 4.5 to 5 months. Came back to India, and I was there at a time where every airline was recruiting. So I was at the right place, right time, but the plan worked. So my answer to Ayush is that yes, you can. You can do it. You have to find a way. It's expensive now. Of course, it's expensive, but if there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah, I guess we have a lot of audience questions, obviously, about the fact, Cap, that is it a right time to get into aviation now? And it's still a dream job for many. I'm just gonna ask a few questions to people to pose the question to you, and just guys, if, you don't mind that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
So
Yeah, go for it.
guys, I'm just gonna go one by one. If you have a question, please do raise your hand. I'm first gonna go to let me see to Tejas. Uh, Tejas, I'm unmuting you. Can you maybe?
Right. Hi, Ajay. Thank you for hosting it, as usual, of course.
Hi, Tejas.
So, my question is: we all know, as youngsters, as school-going, college-going children, aviation and flying has always been something different for all of us. We look up to it. We look up to vacation flights, even if we are going to our parents' boarding houses in some other part of India. But for you guys, as the cockpit crew, as the crew in command of the aircraft, as the operating crew, is it the same kind of enthusiasm and the same kind of fun when you guys start learning, then you guys start flying? So is it the same uh, in the first 3, 4, 6 months, or even a year maybe? Is it the same throughout the career, that you feel the similar kind of enthusiasm, and it just not becomes a mentally taxing job of taxing around people, you catching red eye flights? Because that's what I hate. And being a pilot or a first officer, I'm sure you guys must be taking 5 to 10 red eye flights in a month as well.
All right. Can I take that one?
Yeah, go ahead.
Please.
All right. Tejas, let me tell you this. I've previously, just before joining flying, my story is actually quite similar to Captain Nagi's story. My father is also a defense officer from the Navy as well. And there's another captain of ours, Prachi Malhotra. She kind of instigated me to get into flying, and I got into it. And coming to your question, it's trust me, I was never a person who would, who had ever said that I want to be a pilot. I was not one of those. But flying, after a while, is an addiction. And I'm sure most of the other pilots, it is an addiction, and I mean it in a good way. It really is. I've worked a little bit in an office job that didn't really, and that was only for about 4 to 5 months in Mumbai. And the 1 month into that was monotonous, boring, but flying is not, because no 2 days, no two flights are same. It is absolutely, it is an addiction. You will crib about red eye, you will blame the early mornings, you will do all of that. As humans, we love to crib. We all bitch about the boss. We do all of that. But trust me, put any one of us out of flying for like how we are now, and I'm sure each and everyone is just itching to get back into it, because it is a beautiful addiction. So
I agree.
I'm sure a lot of the other people who have more experience than me out here as well would, but for me it's been about 10, 11 years, and I love getting ready for the flight. My whole ritual, everyone has a ritual. I do as well. The whole getting ready for a flight, getting to it, the aircraft, the paperwork. Yeah, it still is. After 10, 11 years, I still feel that I'm still going for my first flight. I love it. So yeah, it's not boring at all even now. I hope it stays that way.
That's great. That's great to hear from you. because we all can definitely pay a lot of money to have dinner or a lunch on a rooftop 5-star hotel, but we can't witness the sunrise in a panoramic view in the cockpit and have breakfast during that time.
Yeah, but it's more fun when the company pays for that 5-star hotel and the sun goes.
Absolutely.
That's something
Absolutely.
you'll never get bored of that part. Trust me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Captain, you've been in the cockpit, 25 years now, right? So, or so have you gotten over the joy of flying yet, or or is it still the same?
It's still very interesting because each flight is different.
Yeah.
But there is an optimum level. If I can say, if we fly the optimum level, which is a mix of 60 to 80 hours, it's really good. But it really plays in because of the weather changing, situations all over, climate change. From what it started off, where you never got tired, so tired, to even the traffic to get to the airport, it's the optimum flying. So the minute I find for myself, the minute you cross optimum level, then you're pushing it. Otherwise, the flight per se, once you get on the flight deck, it's always good. But it's all the infrastructure around it, the ride to the airport, the the traffic delays, the passengers grumble. But for us, it's a daily thing. We grumble too. And, so I think that's about it. So if that optimum level is maintained, it's lovely. You can't get tired of it. It's every day is different. You just can't.
Yeah.
Anybody else wants to add something to that, guys?
I feel also, apart from your profession, you need to keep other things going as well. When you stop having anything else except for flying in your life, you will just end up getting bored with everything, whatever is going around. You can't just make flying everything. Okay, it's good, of course. Oh, okay, I love flying, I'm a Boeing girl, I'm this, I'm that, that's amazing. But then if you don't keep growing in your life and having different experiences, having hobbies, all right, it's going to get to you, it's going to get boring after a while. And let me tell you, the flying doesn't get boring, the schedules get boring. So the thing is, that's why you have to keep your life interesting. If you keep your life interesting, trying out different things, then it balances everything else out, your work and your personal profession as well. So I think you have to keep learning various things or have a hobby. One of the expat pilots, he very rightly told me when I was quite young in my job, he told me that if you want to be a happy flyer, every 3 to 4 months, you need to take a break of 2 to 3 days, like an absolute break, and enjoy doing what you really do. If you do that, every time you'll come back to flying in a more with a more fresh approach. All right, so yeah, so kind of till now that is what I follow. Actually, yeah, the leaves have gotten longer, but that's something which I enjoy. So I feel that you have to keep doing different things to enjoy flying in your life. I mean, that's how it works for me.
That's true. That's really true. It's like there's something else that keeps you going, and flying is an add-on. Yeah.
Which I'm sure your cat is loving.
Yeah, no, she actually came at my feet and she was like, "Oh, feed me, feed me." I was like, 5 minutes. Yeah, so I've got 2 cats. So yeah, they're all
Nice.
over the place. And they are actually looking at me with those eyes. When are you going to go to work? Where are our treats from Bangkok? They're not getting any. So yeah, it's too sad.
Rashi,
Somehow I can actually relate to that. My kids do the same. I don't have any pets because I have 2 kids. And my elder one is 5, and he's actually asked me, "Papa, when are you going to Singapore next?" Because there's some cookies that he loves out of those. Yeah. So exactly the same question.
No, but Rashi's being awfully quiet. Rashi, why don't you?
I was just listening and enjoying the conversations. I saw some question there and I've just answered one, but I'll go through. There was another one. I don't know. If you want to ask from the group chat, we can do that. I just answered one of them, but there was another one. I wanted to talk about this one. Someone's Okay. This profession of flying planes and being responsible for people's lives is highly stressful. Is a highly stressful job. Other than getting used to the stress, have you guys been open to seeing a therapist or a counselor? Do you guys think there's a resistance towards focusing on mental health or going to see a therapist? I just saw a few words about it, and I didn't realize who wrote it. Turns out it's my sister. So thanks. I actually just saw
She's
stress
hint-
job
your
offer.
sister's hinting.
She's
Your
she's
sister's
actually
hinting.
Well, she's a therapist, so and she sees me as an example. She's like, I want to meet your friends and make my clients out of all of them. No, but jokes aside, I agree, and I'm actually very glad all of this lockdown. Safe to say that all of us are very, very privileged who are sitting here and doing this, and in the safety of our homes and with our loved ones, whoever they are, and we're in safe conditions, and we are very privileged to be able to have this conversation today. And I'm very glad that this lockdown and around all of this has also brought up mental health now for everyone. It's been the longest time that pilots or crew have bbeen deprived of talking about how their mental health status is. You're fighting wars inside, but you're not allowed to speak up because they will ground you, or they will cancel your license, or you'll be put through counseling when actually you need just help and someone to listen to you. So I've seen it on, I don't know which airline was it. It says stress out or something in on the cockpit door or the flight deck door. I can't remember which airline was it. And
I think it's
Indigo.
Indigo.
I think it's Indigo. Yeah. So it's very easily said, but I don't know what the airlines are doing at the moment. I mean, there's no talks about this in my airline as of now, and I haven't heard of any other airline doing these talks. And it is extremely stressful. And my sister is very rightly asked this question because she's seen firsthand, and everyone's been there. All of us who are here in the panel have been there on days where they are struggling with whatever family problems or financial or any particular normal day problems, but they do hamper your mind and mood and your decision making. Everything gets hampered. Now, of course, pay cuts are on the head. I've taken a pay cut on my on my salary here. I'm very grateful that I still have the job, and I knew I had expected that I will get the pay cut. So, but that stress also remains now that I have to now endure this pay cut and still be able to perform the exact same way or better, because now I'm also not flying regularly. So it's not that I'm not saying I'm any less efficient or any less capable of doing it, but I'm now putting in extra efforts to make sure that I don't mess up anything. Even if I know it at the back of my hand, I'm still, instead of now, like a funny thing, all of the pilots will relate. I picked up the checklist and I read each item. I did that yesterday, and I was like, wow, Rashi, very good job. Our trainers have, I'm sure Captain Preeti will agree. She's been a trainer, so she would always probably tell her students that pick up the checklist, don't read it off your head. All of us have heard it, and I picked it up yesterday and did exactly that, because you're so used to, I know the checklist by heart. I don't have it in front of me. Everyone would do the same. But yesterday I picked up the checklist and I read each item so I don't forget, because I might. And it's the last day I want to mess up my license. Already things are hanging by the thread. So it's been, even flying midst this is very stressful, and I'm not sure about everyone, but I really encourage, if there is any need for any help from therapy, you should absolutely take it. I have my sister, so I have an in-house therapist available to me at all times, and I'm very blessed for that. But I would encourage everyone, every crew, every possible person who has the privilege of taking up counseling or therapy in this time. It's very difficult to be stuck in such a situation, not knowing, like Captain Gurusev said, it's so frustrating. It is extremely frustrating not knowing where I'm going. Every day till I think the last month, we knew there was a pay cut coming up, because we heard a rumor. And I took a 70% pay cut on my salary. And I was just, the 3 days was so difficult. It was everything around me was triggering. I'm by myself here. There is nobody around me. My pet is elsewhere. My family is in India. So it was just one of the most difficult 3 days I've had. And I'm not going to deny, I'm not going to hide it, because it's the truth. But it took a lot for me to realize, no, I mean, you can't control it. There is nothing I can do about it. What can I do today? So of course, did a bit of yoga, did a bit of cooking, tried to find ways. Of course, took help of my sister. She gave me ways of trying to, come back to not trying to drown in the bad thoughts in the head and stuff like that. So yeah, I will just take this opportunity to just put it out there that if anybody needs help, just go ask for it. There is no shame. It's everyone needs it. And I needed it and I had it from my sister. And I hope you never need it, but if you ever do, please go ask for it.
Absolutely. The first thing is always to accept that you need help. There was a time when we were flying for a while in my previous company. We were flying for a while and we weren't being paid. And it was getting stressful. Maybe not to me, not so much. But few of my colleagues were really stressed out. And some people had to really take a very hard call of leaving the company early on when the issues started. And they didn't want to, but they had to only for the money because of their financial commitments. But it really got to them. And like looking at them and speaking to them, talking to them, I met a couple of them outside the outside the airport in a more casual setup, and they were really messed up. And they're like, no, we don't want to leave, but we have to leave because I cannot not get paid because I have a lot of commitment. My baby's on the way, and etc. etc. So you really need to accept that you are having issues. The first thing is get yourself out of flying, take a couple of days off, reach out to a counselor, reach out to a therapist. Of course, you have your friends and your immediate family, but if you think you need professional help, I don't think so there's absolutely any shame in going for professional help these days when the stress levels are so high.
Right. On that note, I have a question. Do airlines in India, do they have a set of recommended therapists or counselors for the crew?
Or any other sort of mental health
or a support
program,
system?
a support systems for their crew?
Jets did have some counselors on board. So basically, for more for cabin crew, because our licenses are valid only if we are medically fit. So that becomes like a catch-22 for most pilots, because if you say that you have a problem, that means your license is not valid. So that becomes even more stressful. So somewhere the regulator needs to recognize this, that your medical status can't be linked directly to your license, in the sense that, okay, I'm upset and I need to speak to somebody, but that doesn't mean I'm not 100%, I can't fly. Presently, that's the case. So that becomes rather difficult for pilots to actually go and seek counseling, whether it is for marriage, whether it's for money use. So Germany had this very nice, we get very stressed out when we have to give our checks, because that points directly at our performance. So the Germans, because they're a very proud race, so they used to have company regulations which says if you do not clear a check, you automatically have to go to a counselor by the company, and you would get leave for 1 week for you to deal with your failure. No questions asked. Nobody's asking about why you failed, but you needed to be able to accept that you have failed and what you need to go out of, learn from it. So that's where companies come in. That's where regulators come in. But because medical is so linked with our license, it becomes a little difficult for us to just go and say, you know what, I need to see somebody. So that's how it goes.
Well, my present company as well, they've also given us a number, and they've kept a counselor, and we do have a number. But I agree with what Captain Preeti said. There is the whole stress of your license being attached to your medical, and there is no gray in this. You're either not fit to fly or you're fit to fly. You're either 100% or you're not. So there's no leeway that, or what she said, there is no leeway in this. So there has to be a human touch, human understanding, which needs to come in a bit. I think that will be progression from the overall
Yeah,
viewpoint. Yeah.
and it should come in from the regulators to say that, you know what, this is the time off that you require in case there's a failure. This is your compulsory time off. In case you have family issues, this is your compulsory time off. So not necessary. You could be. I mean, there's so many reasons to get stressed. Weather is stressful, so we just have to recognize, start moving ahead.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm sure all of us at this period, like the virus and how it can affect our family. We've all thought of it. What if? What if somebody falls sick to somebody really close? And that stresses you out. But we deal with it because we don't have a choice. And we'll say, okay, if somebody falls sick, this is what we're going to do, because our training takes us over. If this happens, this is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do next. This is what I'm going to do next. See that these are the people to contact. So my husband keeps making fun. He says, you know what, if you fall sick, you're the last person allowed to fall sick, because nobody knows where anything is in this house. Nothing. They don't know where salt is. I said, you know what, because you're not interested in knowing. So they were asking me the other day, what's the key to this? What's the code to the safe? I said, okay, this is the code to the safe. What is the bank account number? So they know, as for them, they know nothing. So you just, but that's how, just play on your mind. Even the virus plays on our mind. I'm sure all of us, when we go on flights, we are going to wonder that, I hope I'm not endangering my family, because we can't afford to fall sick.
But that brings me to a follow-up question, Captain Preeti. Interesting you bring up the virus. Obviously, it's playing on everyone's mind. There's a question somebody else asked, and I'm just passing it along. How do you think of the cockpit's going to change? And an interesting thing somebody else asked, do you think there's going to be a separate allocated loo for the cockpit staff now going forward till the virus threat is around? Any expectations there? How do you think this is going to go along?
Sorry, what do you mean separate?
Like, a separate lab on the plane?
No, we'll just make the passengers use 2 labs on the 737, and we'll keep one for ourselves and the crew.
That's what I meant.
That's exactly what we've been doing.
You have
yesterday,
to
locked the forward lavatory.
You have no choice.
I mean, I am really sorry that I have to do this every day. You will be quarantined for 14 days. You will go back to your families. I will still have to come back and fly again. I might fall sick. So we're doing that. Of course, wearing all of that thing is another challenge altogether. Extra stuff with the COVID, we've been given by our companies. We have to wear the PPEs. We have those glasses. Of course, those glasses also now play with regulations as pilots. We can't wear them when we are actively flying. Only when we step out of the flight deck, we can wear them on. And on ground, we are supposed to wear them. Gloves, so much. You're constantly using alcohol and cleaning your hands and washing your hands when given a chance, like when we go out to the lavatory. Food-wise, there's so many parallel things that are going on alongside now flying. It's a very different world to what I flew like in Jan. When I flew in Jan versus what I fly today, I was like, wow, that's a different, I did 4 sectors in I think end of February. That was the last 4 sectors I did. I think I washed my hands in that 8-hour flight 10 times. And I was like, man, I'm going to do my hands before anything happens. 10 baari na haath dho liye maine. I have to do something to stop my obsession of washing hands constantly. But it gets to you. Obviously, it does, because you're constantly touching. Paperwork is coming. And then you're reading reports that, via aerosols, they're transferring. And via paperwork, it stays on paper or cardboard for 6-8 hours. So you're just like, what if this guy has it? What if this paper transfers it to me? I'll go wash hands. Every paper that came, I sprayed. For the first 3-4 flights, I was like, this is just going manic level now. I think I will have to step back and I let my virus, my body fight the virus now. I can't really just save everything. So it is very different to what it was. It's like a pre and a post now. Absolutely.
All right, very interesting. I guess that should answer the message for Boeing and Airbus is clearly to retrofit all the back labs to make them bigger, because sometimes they're the only labs the passenger will get to be using for the next, I'm assuming for a year, maybe more, we don't know. Mm-hmm. But sorry,
I think what Rashi is currently saying and going through is going to be a norm in the future. As and when till what my perception of the whole situation is, that the whole scenario, the way we fly, the way we live our lives is all going to change as for what till the time we get out of this. And as for what most people have been talking about, it's going to be at least 1 to 2 years or whatever it is. But flying as such, as and when it starts, even in India, it will change with the labs issue. Yeah, obviously we are going to be with a reduced capacity, so that's not going to be creating that much of an issue. But otherwise, the screening, the way the pilots move around and the crew move around, yeah, everything's going to change. I think no company wants a pilot or a crew who can get into a risk. So because one person gets it, it just spreads. So I think the companies are going to take it upon themselves to keep their staff safe. Yeah, they are going to do that.
I guess the byproduct of this is going to be passengers are going to be behaved, not jumping off their seats to pick up their baggage the minute you land.
Oh, you think?
I think that's gonna
You think?
I
Oh,
don't
you
think that's
think?
gonna change.
No.
Well, we can all be hopeful for that.
Yeah.
We can all be hopeful.
I mean, this is an argument Ajay and I have very often nowadays. We're like, okay, so with post-COVID world, how well behaved will we all be when the aircraft lands? Are we going to jump out of our seats and open the overhead lockers and start pulling bags and queuing up? And his take is, yeah. Everybody's now learning to queue up. See, the basic indiscipline is that we don't know how to queue up. People are learning to queue up, but I don't know. Like we've got very varied views on this. I still think.
I think I'm curious to hear Captain Nagi's hand is up.
Yeah.
So let's cue to him. Captain, tell us. You're saying something.
Actually, my hand was up for something else, but to address what you were saying right now, there's no way it's going to change in India. The minute you land, it's like touchdown. It's like a ninja move. Your seat buckles go flying. You hear the click, 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 click all the way down if you're sitting in the cabin by any chance. It's insane. It just doesn't change. And I don't understand the mindset, because if you all crowd at the beginning of just straight away in your aisles, you're not going to go out faster.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're disciplined, it's obviously going to be a lot faster. And that just somehow beats logic every single time.
I feel you, Cap, because I go through the same thing. If I'm in row 40 or something, I'm just waiting for my turn to come. And
yeah, for me, it's like if I'm ever traveling in the cabin and my wife is with me, I'm saying, okay, I'm going to count down to the time you guys start hearing all the clicks go off. Touchdown, it's like click, 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 click. It goes off all over the place. But I was raising my hand to address one of the questions somebody put up a while ago. I can't pull it up, but anyway, he asked, is it a good investment to get into flying? Honestly, this is not the job where you make an investment and think about putting in money and seeing what are the returns and what are the salaries. If that's how you're thinking about this, maybe you should consider some other profession. Because quite honestly, if you've already heard all the people here talking on the panel of the responsibilities that we bear, the mindset that you need to have, the mental sort of state of affairs that need to be there at all times, you cannot be taking this profession that lightly. And if you're not interested in it, if you don't have your heart in it, it's quite pointless. I mean, you'll get into it, no doubt. It's not rocket science. Let's just be honest about it. You get into it, but you'll never be a good pilot. And you just need one bad day and it'll ruin not just your life, but the lives of a lot more people. So if you're thinking of it as an investment, I would certainly not advise you to get into this airline, get into this profession.
Yeah, somebody else has to add to that. I totally support your view, Captain. But Gursevak, Rashi, Gautam, anyone?
Coming on to the same thing, I mean, very rightly, Captain Nagi said, it's not about the investments, how you're dealing with it. But I mean, yes, when you put in a lot of money into this profession, it's not that you're looking into some investments or returns that you're looking at. Eventually, at the beginning, as a kid, when you start flying, or even the moment you get into this profession, you do have in mind, okay, I'm putting this much money. Would I be able to pay back to my parents, or would I be able to, get what I've done? But yeah, the moment you start getting the salary, you have more commitments. Things change in your life. You have a family, then the cycle changes. It was your parents feeding you, now you have to take care of them. So every now and then things change. So yes, but end of the day, you don't really look at the returns that you're getting. And coming back, I mean, just going back to the thing that how the flying would be once it starts after this COVID thing. So I'm basically more concerned about the cabin crew. How are they going to deal with so many passengers doing the boarding and helping them or serving them? So that's a bit of a concern for me. I mean, the kind of gloves they'll be given, the long elbow gloves and all that. So that's really something very which causes a lot of concern in my head. That's
So
my
a
take
lot
on
of,
it.
I will answer if you don't mind, Guru Sevak, I will answer your question. A lot of airlines have
Please.
now terminated food services. Only water on request, only drinks on request, and either hot tea or coffee or water, and only on request because they want to minimize any contact with the passengers that are flying. Of course, this is right now because not all the passengers that are flying have health certificates telling us that they are COVID negative. So a lot of countries in Southeast Asia, as of now, had put in a rule that they will only accept passengers or flights with only COVID negative passengers. So you have to bear the cost of the test and also come in with an insurance, and then of course have a pre visa to enter the country, regardless of which country you're coming in from. So that way, cabin crew are being taken care of in that sense. But yes, they are at a higher risk than us. Because they are dealing with them face to face. We are sitting behind the door where the door is shut most of the time. Of course, the ventilation is still there. It can be transferred through that, but they are on an active high risk than us, and it's highly concerning. But all the companies, I believe, are doing everything possible who are flying with gloves and PPEs and whatever from our side. And if there's any risk, I'm sure all of us are going to try to minimize whatever we can on a flight. If there's someone sneezing, of course, low, you are not carrying full capacity passengers. Personally, my airline isn't carrying. So if there is a risk, someone is not feeling well, I am making announcements for it saying if you don't feel well, please let the cabin crew know. And then they get shifted to the back of the cabin. And so everyone is doing things to make sure. But then, of course, it's going to be such a paranoia for passengers flying right after this. And including the crew as well, of course.
Actually,
I
this
think the
this
cabin
may
crew is
start.
actually.
Yeah,
Hey,
sorry.
go ahead, Rita.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So actually, this may start for everyone, like right from from the driver who comes to pick you up. All right, you're going to be checked by the CISF staff, the people in dispatch who are going to be giving you, handing over the papers, everything. It's actually quite risky throughout from the get go. So I'm pretty sure right now I don't think Vistara is doing too many flights right now, and I haven't even heard them. At least the 737s are not doing so many cargo flights as well. So once we get to it, once the flying is going to start, they are going to develop certain SOPs and protocols, like how Rashi is going through right now. How do we start our day, like from home to back home? So I'm sure all the companies are going to develop and come up with a plan of action and a plan B as well. So if that happens, even we are going to be a little we are going to have some kind of assurance right from the driver to the staff we are going to interact with, and even for the cabin crew, because how much ever you say, the cabin crew are going to enter the cockpit. So, and like she said, the ventilation is the same. So everyone is at risk, and unless everyone follows the rule, I don't think so this thing is going to be contained very soon. So yeah.
I think cabin crew is now going to do what they're supposed to be doing, just looking after the safety. That's it.
Absolutely.
That's all.
Yeah.
It's
The
a
cabin
part
crew
of my
will
briefing.
if they will just be responsible for safety and safety alone. That's it. So, well, it's a positive, I guess, if you look at it.
Yeah. So let's take a few questions.
Yeah, let's.
We've got quite a few people who
Yeah.
raised their hand. So we should take. Should we take Vinay's question?
Yeah.
Vinay, I want to ask your question. We'll just unmute you.
Yeah. Vinay, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
There you go.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, my question is to everyone, because I did my engineering back in 2013 and I worked for a couple of years, and then I got my MBA and I'm still working, and I fly on weekends and early mornings whenever I can. And I've got about 110 hours now. But now you see that, 737 MAX is down, and we have this 320 neo engine issues, and Those who got into Indigo 2018, still they haven't joined Indigo. They haven't got the joining letters. And last month, GoAir had this 320 rated pilots opening, and more than 600 people came for that opening. 0 hours and just 320 type rated guys. So will you suggest, to defer your training, wait for some time, or just finish it off and wait for the market to come up? Or, because every hour you fly, you're spending about 10 to 15,000, and seeing the situation, we all know that it'll take some time, it'll come up, but it's going to take some time. You cannot just say that, in few months it'll be back. So should I wait, or should I just get it done somehow and then wait when, like, that's all.
I think your guess is as good as ours here on this. We have no idea when and what will be normal again. Firstly, we have no idea what's going to be normal. And when the jobs open, when will be, even what I read in the papers recently, most of the airlines, even when we do get permission to start, we're not going to be starting at full capacity. A lot of the airlines, Indigo, GoAir, SpiceJet, everyone has clearly said there will be reduced capacity. They're going to start with quite a few aircraft. So, yeah, Preeti ma'am can actually answer.
Yeah. Okay, Vinay, how many hours do you have, and what stage of training are you at?
Ma'am, currently I've started my PIC cross countries, and I've got 110 hours, and I'm already 29 years old. So
Okay. So Vinay, you've already spent some time and you enjoy what you do. I would suggest that you complete your CPL, because only after you have a CPL can you actually apply for a job. So you're going 2 steps ahead without even being eligible as of today. That's one. Second, type rating, you can wait, but there are lots of other avenues. You can join the Coast Guard, you can join the Navy, short service commissions. As long as you see the age gap, that you don't cross them, you can join the BSF. Don't get restricted when either you love flying or you want to join an airline. Don't make it two different things. You have the Army, you have the Air Force, you have the Coast Guard, you have BSF, you have Border Patrol. So there are lots of options open. And you can join the ATC after you get a CPL. So you should get your license. Don't necessarily go for a type endorsement, which means you're airline bound. But there are lots of other options. But don't let these 110 hours go to waste. That's what I would suggest. And you can always be in the aviation sector. So spend money to get your license. But with that license, you have a lot of avenues which open up. Like to ATC in Europe, okay? You need to have a CPL. A lot of people I know who have gone to Australia to get their CPL, and now they're air traffic controllers there. So let's look at everything. Look at all the options. Flying is not only airline flying. Flying is an aircraft landing places, doing things. You can become a balloonist. You can become a paratrooper. You have the basic stuff of how an aircraft. You can become a drone pilot. So don't get restricted to airlines if you love flying. And with your basic CPL, look at all the options that are available there in the market for you. That's what I would say.
ma'am, just to add, for this Coast Guard and Air Force, you can do your CPL from outside and still join it, but my age has gone for that. And secondly,
so
I do not want to, I do not want to stop my CPL or quit it like any time, but I'm just asking for the trade-off where do you think I can defer my training, like, wait for 6 months or 1 year and then finish my other hours, or should I do it right away? Because, when the openings will come back again, so that I'm just looking for that trade-off, that waiting is worth right now, or should I just finish it? I'm not going to quit.
Yeah. So what I would do is, see, once you have a license, your hours keep lapsing. Okay. So after a certain number of years, they'll start lapsing. You have to get your license within X number of years. You cannot do 100 now and then after 3 years, another 100. It doesn't work that way. If you want to defer it for 1 year per se, because you want to put in that money, or you can't spend that money, I can understand that. Yeah. But you have a license, you can apply as a dispatcher somewhere, because you have airlines which take a dispatch quota. You have other options once you have a license. Presently, all that 110 hours that you've done have no value per se, except in your logbook. And yes, you have flown an aircraft for those hours. But to get a job, your basic requirement is a CPL under any category. So if because we don't know, your medical status is there today. I do not know after 1 year. You do not know after 1 year. So when everything is good for you and you have the money, if you don't have the money, you naturally have to wait.
Yeah, I'd just like to add something if I could. Firstly, what Captain Preeti said is absolutely correct in terms of joining the BSF Coast Guard. But unfortunately, for you per se, the option may not be there because of your
They
age.
allow for a goal.
Sorry? Yeah. So like I said, the option may not be there for you as such, Vinay, but for others who are listening in, the option of joining the armed forces or the paramilitary is always there. But the good thing about you, Vinay, is that you've done your MBA, you've done your engineering, you have a fantastic backup in place. You've taken, you do your flying on weekends, and I think you've taken what, more than about a year or two to get to 110, is that correct?
Yeah, 1.5 years actually.
So, you know what, the situation right now, if you read all the documents and all the news snippets that are coming out from everywhere, is that almost 45% of the airlines across the world may not survive the current pandemic. It is a reality that we have to deal with. So that means 45% of the workforce, even pilots, we may not have a job, and we have experiences of anywhere between a few hundred to a few thousand hours. So when the market does open up, it's the people with experience are going to get absorbed first. So my point being that if you've already taken 2 years to do your flying in a staggered manner, continue with the same pace. Don't give up anything. Have a backup in place because you shouldn't be in a spot where you've put all your financial assets into one stream and you have no backup left whatsoever. So in the next 1 to 2 years, if you finish your flying, be ready when the market is again about to move all the way up again, and you should be able to capitalize on it. But don't give up on it. If you enjoy it, obviously you do enjoy it. If you're doing it on weekends, and that too after doing your MBA and engineering, that's commendable.
Thanks a lot, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Well, let's take one more question. Ashish, we're coming to you.
Yeah. Am I audible?
Yeah.
My question is for Captain Gautam. How do I switch from Indigo to Etihad? What is the process for that?
Well, I actually didn't go directly from Indigo to Etihad. I moved from Indigo to Jet Airways, and this was one of the few times that Jet actually hired people laterally, and I was kind of in the right place at the right time. I was just lucky back then. So I got into Jet. I flew with Jet for about 3 years, and when the Jet and the Etihad merger happened, I was part of the team that went to Etihad, and we moved from the 330s on the Jet to the 777s on the Etihad. And we had the option of staying back. My colleagues are still there. They are currently flying mixed fleet on the 777 and 787, and they're doing a lot of cargo flights. And yeah, but I chose to come back, family reasons. There are a lot of other reasons, but I chose to come back to India. So I got back into Indigo again. So yeah, full circle.
Okay.
So
Sir, do we
the
have to give
process-
conversion exams?
So the process, recently I haven't heard any Indigo pilots heading to Etihad. There was earlier, but in recent times there were none, as Etihad had stopped hiring Indigo pilots after a certain time. So, but they used to, just like Emirates used to have, Etihad used to have exams and then a GD and a medical, a whole week of process. And there are quite a few Indigo pilots, ex-Indigo pilots in Etihad, but after a while they did stop that. In fact, Etihad just before the COVID-19 happened, Etihad was downsizing on the Airbus fleet.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Right, guys, a lot of career advice there, and I'm sure there'll be a lot more questions coming. But let's move to some of the fun stories that you guys have to share. Obviously, flying is not all serious business. Gautam's already smiling there, so I'm just going to go first to him. Tell us a fun story. Just one.
He's holding his head. Kahan se shuru karu?
No. Yeah. We'll start with a few sober ones first.
Okay, lovely.
We'll start with a few.
There are more than one, yeah.
Let's start with a few other sober ones.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so
so you're saying you don't have a...
Okay, then
Rashi, let's start with you.
What is the question? What are you asking me? I also have to think of sober ones, na? PG-13.
Or anything quirky that happened that you want to share with us from your time flying?
Okay, yeah. There was one very quirky type of thing. One of the flights, I was the first officer back then. I was in Kingfisher. Of course, our in-house pilot rule is never taking names of anyone, so I'm not going to take names. Maybe people know him, whoever I'm talking about. So we used to fly to Bangkok, and I remember one time we were flying. It was my first time flying with him from Mumbai, I think. Or there was a pattern which was Mumbai, Delhi, Delhi, Bangkok, and then Bangkok, Mumbai, or something like that. That was a pattern. And I was flying, and suddenly we approach Thai FIR, which is the boundary of Thailand. And now we have to contact Thai ATC. So I was up until there, I was doing the radios, and he was the captain flying. And then he's like, "Okay, I will do the radios. You fly." And I said, "Okay." Of course, as a first officer, you agree to what your captain says most of the times. And I did the same. So I agreed. I said, "Okay." So I took over control, and he was doing the radio. Suddenly, the person talking is Thai person, Thai lady or a man, I can't remember. And they speak in their normal accent like we do. And suddenly, this gentleman who's very Indian with a very Indian accent goes Thai accent. And the whole flight from there onwards, he's spoken in a Thai accent to the Thai person and flight back. And I was like, and it was so funny to be able to also not laugh at him because he's also the captain. He's also a bit, but he's also making jokes like that. So the whole way he spoke in a Thai accent, and it is hilarious. If I'm sure everybody knows. Suddenly you turn your accents into something else, and I couldn't stop laughing. He was pulling their leg, and I was trying not to laugh and also concentrate because I'm also first officer. I'm also bound for scrutiny if I mess up. But yeah, that was one of the fun times, and we'll never forget that because I think I did 3 flights with him, and all 3 flights he did the same Thai accent on the way back until Mumbai ATC caught him because they asked him, can we know the name of the PIC? And the minute they asked that question, he switched to his Indian accent, came back to normal. That okay, well, I was just I'm just coming back. So we had a small conversation. It was middle of the night, so never an issue. Just playing around, I guess. So that was one of the safe stories I can tell you. I'm gonna keep quiet after this. You can hunt.
I love it how all good stories start with Bangkok. All good stories always start with the flights to Bangkok.
These are sober ones, man. I mean, I don't want to steer on the other side.
So I'll tell you one where I wasn't part of it, but my roommate was, and this came back to the whole. And we were very junior first officers, and so one of my colleagues was actually doing an observation flight. It's called a supernumerary flight. It's what we do before we actually start flying. It's called a supernumerary flight. It's what we do before we actually start flying.
Sorry, if you're not speaking, could you put yourself on mute? I think there are a bunch of people in the audience.
Sorry, Gautam, we lost you, and now you're back. Sorry.
Yeah. So we do observation flights. We sit on for those of you who don't know, we sit on the extra seat that's there in the flight deck, and we observe before we can actually start touching an aircraft as well. So one of my colleagues was actually doing this, and the captain who was operating that flight he was known to play his pranks. So as soon as this very nice, sweet boy came in for his observation flight, the captain had taken off his epaulets, his name tag, his tie, and everything. And he greeted this observer as the same. He's like, "I am also an observer." And so they both behaved as observers. They both behaved as supernumerary. And the only other person in the flight deck was the first officer. And when the captain actually went out, he signed all the papers and everything quietly without the supernumerary knowing about it. And they actually shut the doors. And that's when the supernumerary and the first officer said, "I can't wait for the captain. I'm going to go." and he got the doors closed and he got everything done. And that's when the poor supernumerary observer guy, he started panicking that, oh, we don't have a captain for this flight. There's no way we can leave. And just before the doors got closed and everything, the captain actually put his epilepsy like bet मैं ही हूँ इधर, तो tension मतलब मैं संभाल लूँगा.
That's very interesting.
Nice.
I got a story about a passenger actually.
Yeah, sure.
This is back in the day, almost maybe about 7-8 years ago. I was flying a flight from Calcutta to Ahmedabad, and this was a late red-eye flight. So departing, and we're about to close doors, and the crew comes up to me and said, "There's a passenger who's drunk." So my usual question is, "Do you want to take him or not?" She's like, "He seems okay, but I think he's a bit too drunk." So I said, "Okay, if he's going to be a safety hazard in case of a situation like an evacuation, just ask the ground staff to get him off the flight, and he can go on the next one later." Now, it's not that easy in India. So when you tell the ground staff, take this guy off, they're like, first reaction is, "Sir, le jao, koi nahi so jayega, and he'll be okay." I said, no, take him off the flight. I don't want to risk anything happening. So that to and fro negotiation kept going on with the ground staff out of politeness. And ultimately I said, you know what, if he's not going to get off the flight, I'm going to get off the flight. So I actually stepped down. We didn't have a jet bridge. I stepped down and I was standing downstairs, and that's when they all got into action. They ran out, they sent the security, they dragged the guy out, got him down the steps. He was yelling away. And I pretended to be talking on the phone and sort of ignoring this action. And so this guy, the drunk guy, had a conversation with the ground staff, and he says, was begging them, "Please let me go." So one smart ground chap pointed towards me and he said that, "If he allows you, then you can go." And so I'm like, okay, and I can see this happening in the corner of my eye. And this guy is staggering and walking up to me, and he's like, "Sirji." I was like, "Hanji, bataiye," He's like, "Please, mujhe le jao Calcutta, so Ahmedabad and all." I'm like, "Aap agle flight mein aa jao, no problem." So, "Nahi, aap please le jao. If you don't mind, haath to mila lo mere saath." So I'm like, okay, fine. Worst case, shake his hands and move on, So I shook hands with him, and there was something weird. He had a 500 rupee note stuck in his palm, which he tried to give me, and he winked. He winked and he said that, "Ab to le jao." I didn't know if I should have been insulted or should have laughed. I called the counselor. I said, "Just leave him aside and we are on our way from here." But yeah, that was one of the funnier ones that I've had.
Funny. Yeah.
Anybody else wants to volunteer a fun story?
The amount of filters which are going on in my mind, that should I say this one or should I'm just filtering all the stories. So there's one like a little cute one. The rostering staff called me at night and they requested that it's just a really tiny flight and please do it. There's no one else, and etc. etc. So I said yes for it. So all I had to do is I had to go passenger from Bombay to Delhi, and then just get the aircraft back from Delhi to Bombay. That's all. So I woke up and I said, I'm going out for a birthday party. They're like, no, just do this one and you can take a day off the next day. I said, okay, fine. And so we worked out a nice deal. And okay, so now it's 7 o'clock. 6:45, I sit on the seat which was given to me, and being the darling Jerryways, we used to always get upgraded to first class, business class. So I was sitting on my business class seat with my iPad, my headphones, my phone, my magazine, and everything. The setup was really nice. I'd call for a tea and I asked for a blanket and all that stuff. Now it's 6:50, 6:55, and I'm just peeping in the cockpit, and there's no captain. There's just a bichara, a first officer sitting over there, and I'm wondering where is the captain. And now everyone's wondering where's the captain. Then I get a call on my phone, and I'm like, oh my god, don't tell me. So I picked up the phone, and they're like, so the captain, he's forgotten to wake up or something like that, and please can you operate the flight. And there was a business class passenger sitting next to me who's seeing my entire arrangement, my hand cream and everything and all that. So now he sees, and now I start packing everything. First I'm like, "Arey no, yeah, I'm tired." They're like, "Please do this flight for us. Why don't you fly to Delhi and then fly back?" I said, okay. So I pack up, I take my 2 iPads, my magazine, my lotion, my headphones, my phone, everything. And I'm just taking my entire bag and going. And he just said, the business class passenger looked at me and he's like, wrong flight. I said, no, wrong seat. So that's about it. So that was quite funny. And like the entire row, they kind of ended up knowing that now I'm operating the flight. So that was quite funny and embarrassing, but it was all good spirit. So that was okay.
Nice. Captain Kohal, are you going to volunteer a story, please? No.
Or maybe she got pulled into the kitchen.
She's on mute.
No, not yet. I'm sorry, I had muted it. And mine's kind of got to do with my husband, who's also a captain with Air India. And so we when I'm flying and he's taking off, or I'm landing, and we try and coordinate. So he wanted to see me at least know that I've landed into Bombay. And so he tells ATC, I'm just going to hold position because I want the Genoese to land. I was in jet that time. And ATC said, like, Air India holding for jet is like unheard of. Okay. So it became a big thing that he says, no, I have to hold for her. I have to hold for Genoese. So it became, we got calls saying, why was Air India holding for you? And of course he says, no, I have to hold for her. So that was one thing that between us, we could always manage. He would always give me way. Whenever both of us were taking off, he would hold. And if I was landing and he would say, no, I'll give my slot to jet, because he would just let me land first, let me take off first. So we've had our good times in the air. Without anybody
couple
knowing,
goals, man, couple goals.
Yeah. Without anybody knowing, of course. It was, no, I just want to do this for jet.
Yeah.
That's it.
Is Gulsevak still around? He needs to still tell us.
He'll have a bunch of funny ones, I'm sure.
Yeah, I've got many, but the thing is, as Captain Richa said, how to actually filter them. And so all this, I was wondering what to say or not to say, because it's really difficult to, share all these things. But unfortunately, I don't have many, or the ones which I can share. The only thing, everybody here must be aware of it. So when we fly out of Delhi, mostly going anywhere around Delhi, so when we pass the Varanasi controller, so it's a very funny thing. I mean, it would not be funny right now, but yeah. So there's a person, he's got a very peculiar kind of a voice. So every time, half the people would address him as ma'am, half the people would address him as sir. And the more you address him as ma'am, he would get agitated, or probably sir, he would get agitated.
Yeah.
So, it happens. So that's the only thing. You really cannot figure out on the RT whether it's a man or it's a woman. But yeah, we do.
I think till today, none of us know.
So that's all.
We know who you're talking about.
I don't think any of us have figured it out till today.
Yeah. It's a very irritating voice he has.
Are you sure it's a he?
Or maybe she has.
Or she.
Maybe
I think there are quite a few of them. There's one with Nagpur, there's one with Varanasi.
I think the best guy is in Chennai. He's the most jovial character. His name is Mr. Shiva Shanumugam. I've asked him his
I was
name.
just
I've
about
tried
to
to
come
spell
to
it.
him.
Always get it wrong. He's the most jovial person in the air. You can fly over Chennai. If you ever hear his voice, it's distinct and it's happy. And all you have to do is, greet him a little differently, or maybe take his name, and you get direct routing to wherever you want.
I remember I was flying with the Singapore. Go ahead, Gautam, go ahead.
Sorry. So there was one controller in Delhi as well. I think, was it Mr. Swami or somebody who was quite famous back then? And we were taking off very early from Delhi to Pune. And we were just doing one sector that day, departing at 5 in the morning. And suddenly my captain, I don't know why, but was in a hurry. I was a first officer, so I didn't ask him why he was in a hurry, but he certainly was. And as soon as we got airborne, I was supposed to be doing the radios, but he kind of pipped in that he wanted a direct. And he got the very standard response, what we always get, that standby. And as soon as we got on the next controller, from Delhi, he says, I want a direct to Pune. And which is quite weird. But yeah, so the controller, obviously, I think it was Mr. Swami, and he's like, confirm reason. And he says, I want to do fuel saving. That's my purpose. He's like, yeah, why don't you tell me your bay number also? I'll put you directly on the bay then.
Yeah, I remember him actually. I remember the controller from Chennai once, and also Mr. Swami. I remember taking off from Delhi once, and I had actually requested direct. I was flying to Mumbai that time, and I looked at my captain. I said, "Captain, direct," and he's like, "Ha, Mumbai, ma'am." And I was like, "Captain, Mumbai?" He's like, "Ah, just ask Mumbai." And I was like, "Okay." And I was like, "This is like Gautam said, it's very weird to ask for a direct to destination. No controller gives you that." And so I said, "Good evening." And it was 5 a.m. I said, "Good evening." And he obviously burst open laughing. And he's like, "Good morning, good afternoon, good evening." And, climbed 6,000 feet, wherever, direct to. And I was like, Captain, sir, request direct to Mumbai. He's like, "Okay, direct to Mumbai. Have a good day." And I was like, "Whoa, what just happened?" He gave us direct to Mumbai. I said, "Sir, confirm direct to Mumbai." He's like, "Yeah." So direct to blah, blah, blah. I was like, "Wow, this was great." I was like, "I'm going to do this every time." He's like, no, don't do this every time. I was like, "Okay, fair." Yeah, quite good times flying in India. I realize now Indian controllers are incredible. I really, really miss flying in India. I really do. There are some such great controllers with the limited amount of resources that ATC has. They do such a phenomenal job because I flew in Southeast Asia, so now I realize the amount of good standards they have, and I now complain much lesser than I used to when I was in India. I was like, "Yaar, ye kya kar rahe hain, ye kya kar rahe hain?" And then you fly here and you go like, "Ye kya kar rahe hain? Ye really kya kar rahe hain?" So yeah, shout out to all the ATCOs. Yeah.
Lovely, guys. Okay, I think we had a great approximately 1.5 hours talking to all of you. I think we start wrapping this up now. Anyone wants to be subject to a rapid fire round? Because there are 6 of you, so I'm not going to be able to take you all in. But
yeah, it's fun. It's very
and
spontaneous.
you might get a hamper.
It's fun.
Nothing
Oh,
that
there's a hamper involved. Count me in.
Oh, yes. Always for a hamper.
Hamper में 12 साल वाली है या 15 वाली?
Please 18 होनी चाहिए.
18 यार, कोई भी दे दो.
Hamper lockdown के बाद आएगा.
Oh, please sanitize
when you are back to when you're starting flying already.
All right. No, don't take away my Karan Johar moment from me. Who's going first?
Oh, it's a 1x1 wala thing.
Yes, it's a 1x1.
Senior most goes first, always.
Okay, so
Gautam?
Yeah, sure.
I think Captain Preeti is the senior most.
Yeah, no,
she
hasn't volunteered yet. Captain Preeti, you want to?
We just want to throw.
Yes, I'm good. Yes,
okay,
let's start.
Okay. Okay, so these are some of your pilot friends who send us the questions. Okay. Where is Captain Preeti? Okay, just a second. Tech. I'm just gonna bring you the focus here so that people are looking to you. What is the best and worst landing you've ever had?
There's so many. There's just so many. There's so many. The best one was after we held for 8 hours and we came into Bombay when we had that July deluge, and we were like literally in the air for 7.5 hours for a 1 hour flight. So that was a good landing. We got everybody down, and we must have done about 3 go rounds on that one approach into Bombay because it was raining so heavily. So that was a good landing. And as long as you land on the runway, they're all good landings. Bad landings are when you go off the runway. So far, all good landings.
What's your favorite airport to land at?
Mangalore.
Okay, and the one with the best views?
Best views would be, I guess, Paris. Yeah, on the 777, I still love getting into Paris in the mornings.
Yes, and you pass the
Eiffel Tower. Yes, it's beautiful. Yeah, Paris is good.
Okay, what is the most common unsolicited advice you get from people who are not in aviation?
Are you okay? Are the kids being looked after? I think, you know what, this is really not the job. I'm sure your kids are neglected. So, you've got to take off time to look after the kids more. I think that would be it.
Okay, I'm just gonna cue this. And I think, Captain, I was reading up a bit about you, and we've flown together back in the day. I just don't remember which flight. But
Okay.
I think you haven't missed a parent-teacher meeting, right, for your kids?
No. I've got this planner, which everything is planned.
Yeah.
So, like one of my friends told me, your 2020
Excellent.
planner is not going to come to use now. It's not going to come to use because everything that I planned for these 2 months is gone. I said, now I'm using it to plan menus and so that I won't repeat the dishes every day. So I said, I'm still using the planner. So one of my friends texted me specifically about my planner.
Lovely. Okay. What is the one thing passengers don't know about pilots?
Oh, that we that we work really hard. That we really, really work hard, and they think it's the autopilot that does the work. But I think all of us work hard at what we do.
Yes. Okay. Question as a wide body pilot. Okay. Do you feel irritated on short sectors like Amritsar, Delhi, or Chennai?
No, it's super fun. It's super fun. We used to have this Bombay Pune flight. It was 13 minutes flying time, and it used to be crazy. And it used to feel great if you could make 2 PAs and that 30 minutes sector and do 280 knots. Oh, it's such a kick. You get such a thrill of doing it perfect. Yeah. And fill the book. Yeah. Fill the book. 2
And
PAs.
fill the book.
Book. Yeah. Oh, no.
Maybe have a tea in the middle as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Breakfast.
It's crazy. Yeah.
And the last one. Your best. This is your captain speaking line. You have to act it out.
God, that's just like, good morning. This is your captain speaking. The first officer is going to be flying you today. That's it.
Lovely. Thank you, Captain. Let's go to the next one. Captain Nagy, are you in?
Sure, why not? Sure, why not?
Okay. Some of these and some different questions. Okay. Let's start with the easy one. What is the best and worst landings you've had?
Best and worst. Let's go with the worst. I used to fly in Greece on a deputation. There's an island we should land called Kos. You could do whatever you want, the best approach, smoothest touchdown, but the runway surface was terrible. So every time you landed, you were bump, 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 despite it being a super smooth landing. But the way things are in Europe, everyone claps for you, after every landing. So it's something really weird, but always had the worst landings out there. Best, well, there are a couple of them here and there, but I can't, as long as you land and you can walk away from it, it's good enough for me.
Lovely. What is the airport which has the most difficult approach for you?
I flew to Split. That was difficult. Split and Nice, they both have a visual component to it, and it's really scenic. So you want to look out at the same time because it's so beautiful, and at the same time it's very intricate. So it's challenging, but it's not that difficult. It's fun to do it. When you land, you feel good about it.
Okay. What is the best thing and the worst thing about being in the cockpit?
The best thing is you get to fly the machine that you want to fly and the life that you want to lead, the views that you get, and things that you can be super rich, and you can even be Amitabh Bachchan for that matter, but you can't fly a plane. You've not everyone can do it. And the worst thing, you don't get to enjoy the champagne on the flight.
Okay, Airbus or Boeing?
Boeing, any day.
Okay, I'm sure somebody's glad listening to you. What is the most common unsolicited advice you get from people who are not in aviation?
I would say unsolicited advice is more of opinion. Everyone on my home WhatsApp group, to Twitter, to the guy in the street has an opinion on how to fly the plane and how the captain should have done the landing and what aviation should do. I think that's more of a thing that you get to hear than an advice as such.
All right, last one for you. Favorite meal on a plane when you're deadheading or flying on your own?
I fly for a full service airline, which is 5-star, and the food is amazing. So I'm spoiled for choices, and it changes on a monthly basis. So I wouldn't be able to pinpoint a one particular one, but I've been from a low cost carrier to where I'm flying right now. It's a massive, massive difference.
What if I poked you to ask you for one? Like mine on your carrier is the chart, which even at 4 a.m. tastes wonderful.
It's only on the Indian sector. You don't get it elsewhere, unfortunately. But yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah. So what for you?
For me, it would be the prawns that we get usually on the European sectors.
Okay, perfect. Who's next? Gautam, shall we come to you?
Sure. Let's go.
Yeah. Thanks, Captain Nagi. We are heading to Gautam. So, are you ready?
Yeah, sure.
I haven't asked this one to anyone. What happens if someone farts in a cockpit?
You blame that the
Yes,
lab
man.
is blocked.
I have an answer, but I'll give you later.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
No. After this is over.
All right, fine. Now, 777 or A320?
Ooh, tough choice. 777 for the flying, 320 for the meals when I want to eat.
Okay. What is the best and worst landing you've had?
I think best. Best was actually my one of my last flights on the 320 as a first officer. Something I don't know how I pulled off, and everyone it was something magical. Yeah, I still remember that one. Okay. And the worst one is the ones that the first officer does. Yeah, all of them are the worst ones. Yeah. I don't do worst landings. I blame it always on the person on the right. So first officer does all the worst landings.
Okay. As a passenger, window or aisle or middle for you?
Window. Always window.
Okay. Now you have to give us your best. This is your captain speaking line.
Oh, I really don't have one. I do a bit of Hindi announcements once in a while, but
give us whatever you have. What do you usually do?
Oh, recently I did something. A few of my friends got me into this game PUBG, and yes, a lot of us know that. And so the plane flies over the war zone, and you've got to drop. And I actually did a whole plane announcement in PUBG, and it was a proper one. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. The plane will be flying over the so and so points, and we're all going to jump and kill ourselves.
Okay. What is the toughest airport for you to operate
from? The toughest, actually not so tough, but I would say the best approach I've done was into New York. It's called the Canarsie approach. You are actually flying and looking at lights on the ground and flying it, and you just level off right at the end. It's just like at 300 feet, you level your wings and you just land there. It's the weirdest and the best approach that I've ever seen. It was the toughest for me when I first did it. Yeah.
Okay, that final moment before you taxi for takeoff, and there's pin drop silence. What is going in your head?
I look up to make sure I've actually done everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Who's coming up next?
Rucha?
Yeah, sure. I wouldn't mind.
Okay.
Oh, one sec. Yeah. Let me.
Okay. So we'll start with the common ones, the easy ones. Your best and worst airport landing?
So my best landing was the first time I landed as a captain, and the worst landing was the first time I landed as a first officer. The worst was in Trivandrum because I was busy watching one white bird flying away into the sea, and the trainer asked me what happened. I said, Captain, did you see that bird? He's like, did you feel your landing? I'm like, not really. And yeah, my best landing was the first time I landed as a captain, and like my trainer was really happy, and which made me really happy. So yeah.
Okay, what's your favorite airport?
Mangalore. Yeah, there's something about that place. I really like it.
Okay, and which airport do you think has the most difficult approach?
It's not like a difficult approach, but I mean the traffic can make it a little chaotic, but I think I mean I've had quite challenging landings in Bangkok. I know it sounds like very surprising because it feels like a very commercial airport, but the maximum close encounters with other aircrafts I've had on only in Bangkok landings, and you have to be really careful sometimes.
Okay. Boeing or Airbus?
Always a Boeing. I'm such a Boeing girl at heart. That's one of the major reasons I joined Jet Airways, because they offered me Boeing.
Okay. And what is the one thing that passengers don't know about pilots?
I mean, they do know that about, but they don't want to acknowledge that. They think that, being a pilot is all about knowing what buttons to press or something like that. They really don't know that we are just as, we work just as hard to invest in our careers with respect to our time, our, our emotions, everything. Sometimes they feel that it's very mechanical for us and we don't appreciate that, but it's not like that. Every flight is just as emotional and just as special for us also. It's just that maybe we do it every day, so it doesn't come on our faces, but yeah.
Okay. And my last one for you, what would be your advice to women aspiring to be pilots?
Go for it. Absolutely go for it. I don't think so there's a better profession. I mean, of course, like Captain Puneet said, don't get into it because of money. Okay. But if you have the passion and you really think you can do well over here, I think you should absolutely do it. There is no other profession which, if you really like it, you will just have a blast. I mean, there's glamour, and there is bit of adventure, and then there is a bit of hard work, and it's a mix of everything. I think everyone should do it. I mean, I really like it, so yeah.
All right, I have controls again, so I'm not going to let
Oh, I am quite a chatster. You have to cut me, trust me.
All right.
People who know me, yeah.
We still have to ask you, give us your best, this is your captain speaking line.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain from the flight deck, Rucha Nirale. I welcome you to the joy of flying. Okay, now I think I have to learn how to say welcome you to flying the new feeling with Sarah.
Okay, thank you for that. And
thank you so much.
Captain Nagi, you can tell us about the fart in the airplane thing.
Okay, I had almost forgotten about it. But you know what? Back in the day, one of the senior captains, I was the first officer. He told me a trick. I mean, the conversation just came about farting and all. And he says, if you ever want to fart, this is the way to do it. You know, when you think that moment is coming, press the buzzer, press the attendant call button. Ask her to come inside. Ask her for a cup of tea or something. Have a little quick chit chat with her. Once she leaves, you've obviously done your business then, and look at the first officer and it's like, oh my God, what did she do when she came here? So just basically pass the blame on to someone else.
All right. We are going to come to you now, Rashi. Are you ready?
Yes, ready.
Okay. The best and worst landing for you?
Well, the best one was on my training flight as a captain. And bad weather into Singapore. I was flying with a fellow Indian captain. We were both ex-Kingfisher, and both our trainings from Kingfisher kicked in on that day. We did 2 go-arounds. We landed on minimum fuel into our destination airport. And when we landed, there was like nothing over there. We were the last ones to land. The airport shut after that because the parking bays were full. And it was such a mayhem that day. And we just managed to get in, and I was on the left seat still as a trainee captain. And he had written the form. All he had to do was sign just because we were landing, and he'd already filled the form. He tore that form, and he rewrote a new form, which had like the works of 5 stars and all of that, obviously, because good performance. So I was like, wow, what a nice day. So that was, I think, a very memorable good landing, or bad landing to a good landing. And bad landing was a really windy day in Mumbai on a 321. And I was very new as the first officer. I think we were grounded in between for about 10 months when the recession had hit, and I'd just come back to flying after that. So I had about 300 hours and I was flying. It was really, really windy. And I told the captain, I said, Captain, you have control. He said, no, you land. And I was like, no, I can't land. He's like, no, you can do it. And not the best landing I've had. And I will never forget that. That was, I think, the last ones I did. It was safe landing, but it was one of the very rough ones that I pulled off. But yeah, everything was okay. It was not unsafe, just a bad landing that I will never forget, I guess.
All right. As a passenger, window or aisle or middle seat?
Aisle always, long legs, man.
Toughest airport to operate from?
Toughest airport to operate from? I don't really have like a toughest airport to operate from. anywhere where there is extra paperwork. China flights are a pain in a lot of places in the body because the amount of paperwork that goes in and so much procedure. So all in and out of flights from China are slightly more tedious than the others. But just because of paperwork and just because of all of that extra procedures that one has to go through. But flying-wise, flying into Macau is on one of the runways is slightly challenging. It's a different bit of approach, like Captain mentioned about New York approach, where you follow visual sector. In Macau, the runway is there and you're facing this way until you see the runway and then you turn. So yeah, it's an offset localizer approach, which is slightly tricky because it's not a precision approach like the ILS. So the minimas are higher. There's always cloud sitting right when you have to see the runway. So yeah, slightly tricky if you're doing it for the first initial bit. Now it's okay. Yeah.
All right. That final moment when you taxi for takeoff, what are you thinking?
Obviously, always look to the left and see there's no aircraft coming. And make sure that I line up on the correct place I'm supposed to line up, whichever runway I'm cleared onto. No stop bars. I actually read it out in my head. No stop bars, which says that I don't have a line stopping me from entering. Approach is clear, runway is clear. So I always say that to me because there have been cases where people have missed that and gotten into difficult situations. So that's my little checklist that I do just before I line up or take off.
All right. What is the most scenic airport you've ever landed into?
Scenic. Maldives is really nice. Maldives is beautiful. Kathmandu, I really like flying into in the winter months. Kathmandu was fun. All the mountains around. So yeah, these two airports are quite nice.
What's the most common unsolicited advice you receive from?
Sorry, you got cut off. Someone's mic is off. Sorry, say that again.
What is the most common unsolicited advice you get from people who are not in aviation?
Really like most of them are related to husbands or partners or boyfriends. Ke, oh, aapke boyfriend kaise allow karte hain, aapke husband kaise? I have neither, which I am okay with. But they're like, aap kaise allow karte hain? So what do you mean kaise allow karte hain? Like how is what is this question? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. So such questions are usually the ones that we get asked, or they say, "Oh, you have kids," or "When will you have kids?" Or all these general women desi mindset questions that come in at us are these.
All right. Well, thank you for doing this, Rashi, and we go to the last pilot here. Gurusevak, we're coming to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I know you're still to be a captain, but what's your best, this is your captain speaking line when you will be in the left seat?
So the only thing which, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. So rest I have to think actually, because I really can't get into it. But yeah, just of this thing, I really like to make announcements. So Captain Richa is very aware of it, very much aware of it, that I really love to make announcements.
Okay. What is your best landing you've done in your career so far?
Best landing, it was in Lucknow long back when I was in Jed. So the only thing was the aircraft landed, it was so smooth that even I didn't get to know when it landed. And it was all captain's thing. I mean, he had to pull up the speed brakes and all. He said, land ho gaya. So that was, best and the smoothest landing ever.
Okay. What is the one thing passengers don't know about pilots?
Don't know about pilots. So the main thing is they don't actually know the amount of hard work we put in, because that's only known by our families. And another thing is that they think it's just the autopilot that flies. So it's not just the autopilot. It's we who make the aircraft fly, and the autopilot do its job. Let the autopilot do its job, actually.
All right. What is your favorite meal on as a passenger or as a crew?
My favorite meal. So basically, I don't like messy food like a sabji and a dal or anything which has gravy. So anything nice diet, a sandwich or something. So that's the best I would go for.
Okay. What is the most uncommon the most common unsolicited advice you get as a aviation person from people who are not in aviation?
Yeah, so generally, basically, I mean, all from my relatives because most of them are frequent flyers. So all they say is, "Achhi landing kaun si hoti hai? You know, you should know how to land." I said, "What is the best landing?" So according to them, is the best landing is when you're sleeping and you don't get to know when the aircraft is landed. So that's that's the only advice that I get.
Okay, Airbus or Boeing?
Always Boeing.
We've got a lot of Boeing.
No Boeing.
Yeah.
We have a lot of Boeing people here.
Yeah.
Okay, lovely. Thank you, Gursevat. Thank you, everyone, guys. Thank you for joining us today. I will have to think over the hamper part. I'll try and send all of you a hamper, but it's obviously going to be after the lockdown. So, thank you for a fun evening today. And I'm looking forward to flying with all of you sooner than later. And let's hope we're all in the air pretty soon again.
Yeah, and hopefully we will meet on the other side of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ajay,
Looking forward to
Shipra.
it.
It was
Thanks.
really lovely being here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for hosting this. Yeah, my family's been
It
coming
was-
in and they're wondering what I've been doing for the last 2 hours. I can't believe it's been almost 2 hours. But yeah, this was a lot of fun.
I keep telling him we need to keep it to 60 to 70 minutes. It invariably runs into like 180 minutes every time.
This just brought us back to what we do in the cockpit. We bitch and we chat and that's what we are back.
This is the
You
most
brought it back
productive
for
I've
us.
been all this while.
Yeah.
Okay.
I put on makeup for the first time in a long time. So yeah, this has been great.
Yeah, so have I.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you guys.
Thanks, guys.
Stay
Stay
safe.
Stay safe. Stay at
Bye.
home.
Bye.
Bye.